She's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and we are Zooming again today. We have a great guest. I'm so excited, but before we begin, we always have to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any type of a flyer. They can help you analyze the demographics of your business. They can help you with your social media. They're also experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, to find out where all the Greek entertainment is, and hellenicfestivals.org to find out where there is a Greek festival near you. And yes, they will be Greek festivals this summer, no question about it. Our other sponsor is Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's also called an insert, and you put it in your shoe. Why is this different than any of the other over-the-counter orthotics that you might find? Because this one has an adjustability in the arch, and you can adjust the arch to firm, extra firm, extra firm, depending on what your needs are, whether you're walking around, whether you're jogging, if you have a job where you're on your feet all day. Let me tell you something. These are the best inventions since suitcase on wheels. Go to their website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com, and there's a 30-second video that will show you how this works with this little key, and you turn the dial. They're amazing. I work out every day. I'm a cardio junkie. I would never work out without these. Also, for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a discount of 25%. That's right. If you put in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY 25, you get a 25% discount. Selectflex.com. You're welcome. All right. I am very, very excited to have this wonderful woman on my show today. She is, of course, a Greek sister. She has helped me in my journey, and I will talk about that. She's amazing. She has four sons, made a very big move not that long ago from New Jersey, I believe. She's a Northeastern girl like me, to the Carolinas. We're going to talk about that too, because it's a big thing that's been happening. And she is, aside from all of the other professions that she's had, she is a children's book author. And she has written some beautiful books for the Orthodox Christian community. And it's called the Lucky, it's the Lucky series, and there's the Lucky Egg. We're going to get into all of this, the Lucky Cake, and she has a new book out. I don't know where she had the time in between all the things that she does to write another book. It's called The Lucky Day, and we're going to find out about that. As a matter of fact, I have the Lucky Egg and I have the Lucky Cake. I did not get the Lucky Day yet, because I just saw that it came out, and I was still in a state of shock that she had all this time to do this. But anyway, without further ado, please give it up for my friend Anna Prokos.
Hi, Ellen. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. And it's good to see that you have the books there. The Lucky Day is not out yet, so it'll be released in 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
I submitted the final proof to the printer this morning. So we're waiting for that to just come through and get a copy in my hand, make sure it's all good, and then it'll be ready.
I mean, you amaze me. I'm in awe of you. I just want to start off by, I always like to get everybody's little bio, like where they're from, where they grew up, kind of house. Did you have a lot of siblings, big Greek family or big family? Give us that. Where exactly are you from?
So I'm from New Jersey, born and raised. I live there. I have a sister who's also obviously from New Jersey, who now lives in California.
Which town are you from in Jersey?
A town called Kearney. It's in Hudson County.
Yes.
And I lived there till I was about 22. And then I moved right next door, the town right next door to North Arlington with my husband, who's from Greece. And we bought a house in North Arlington back in 1997, 6, something like that, 1997. And we lived there for about 20, geez, I'm dating myself, about 24, 20 something years.
I do it every day.
Yeah. And, what else can I tell you? My family's from Andros, my mom's side and my dad's side. And we lived and worked in New Jersey for 20 something years as a married couple. As you said, we had 4 kids. So when I got to my 4th child, it was too much for me to commute in and out of New York. I worked in the children's publishing industry. I worked at actually Time magazine for kids.
Oh.
And that commute was, as anybody who commutes to New York knows, dreadful.
Yeah.
Every day in the snow and the heat and the smelliness and everything. And my mom said, you have 4 kids now. How are you going to keep this wonderful career in the city? You got to figure something out. So for a year, I switched jobs. I went corporate. So I left my children's publishing and writing passion, really, to go more of a corporate role and use my writing and marketing skills in that sense. And I worked for a healthcare company in New Jersey for a year. And then we were just working to pay the bills, working to keep food on the table. My husband was in construction. So between November and February, he was dead. There was snow, there was cold, there was holidays, and nobody wanted construction people in their house. So it was rough trying to raise 4 kids and give them all the things that as a parent you might want to give to your kid. So we had friends who moved to North Carolina. And I said to my husband, it was Thanksgiving week, and I said, let's just go visit them. Like, what is this thing about North Carolina? And he made a big move from Greece to New Jersey. Back then it was over 20 something years ago. And he was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not moving again. We're settled with our Greek friends and our family, a whole big fat Greek family, cousins, aunts, uncles, Nico, Maria, everybody. Our friends, our Greek church, our Greek community, very, bonded with all that. And then we came here and I stepped out of the cab and I looked at my friend's house and I said, you paid what? For what? And I looked at my husband and I said, we're done now. We're moving here. And he was like, we can't. Your parents live 6 blocks away. We have 4 kids. How are you going to do that? I'm like, oh, we're done. We're out.
That's okay. So a couple quick things. So
yeah.
first,
I know.
which church did you go to in New Jersey?
So I grew up in St. Nicholas in Newark, New Jersey. It was the Mother Church of New Jersey.
Newark. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my great-grandparents actually were one of the founders of that church back in the early 20s when it was just in a basement in the middle of Newark. So I had a very deep emotional connection to that. And then the church closed and they moved to Roseland, New Jersey. Our home was closer in North Arlington, was closer to the Clifton, St. George and Clifton community. So we mostly went to Clifton so my kids could go to Sunday school and I didn't have to drive, 30 minutes to get them there. But I was sort of between churches because my heart was with my St. Nicholas family and my distance was with the Clifton St. George community.
And I mentioned that, but even for people that are not Greek, that church is really a big part of our lives. It's a big part of our it's also a big part of our social lives. We make a lot of friends. And I ask you, especially because when you have children, you want them to go to Sunday school, you want them to go to Greek school. So the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, this is very concentrated with Greeks. I mean, listen, as a population, we're not that big, but in terms of pockets, Boston is big, Chicago is big. So here you're sitting here saying you're going to North Carolina.
Yep.
I'm not thinking Greek anything, quite frankly. I'm thinking pie, hats, and quilting. Maybe that's my New York myopic view, because now actually what's happening is that a lot of people from New York and New Jersey are moving there, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it. But I mean, I give you a lot of credit. Now, was this before the pandemic or
yeah.
When was
this? 6 years ago. So we moved in 2014.
Oh, okay. So you've been there a while.
We've been there a while, yeah, over 6 years. Mm-hmm. And there is Greek, so I want to bust that myth for you. There, as you said, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and as an author, I've been to dozens of churches up there to do the books. Here, in Charlotte, there are actually 2 Greek Orthodox churches, which to us was huge. So there we have the cathedral, which is highly concentrated, lots of Greeks from the island of Karpenisi, and they've been here from the 1950s. I don't know a lot about that community. My kids have played sports there with Goya and all that stuff, but we don't go there. And it's very, it's Greek language. So, you know, unfortunately, although I am a Greek author, I went to Greek school. I speak Greek as a working parent, like I said, with 4 kids commuting to New York, with parents who also worked and a husband who worked. My kids did not have the benefit of going to Greek school. They went, my older son went for 1 year to the Clifton Greek School, but other than that, we could not make a weekday Greek school program work. So they did not have that benefit. When we moved here, they didn't know Greek. And I'll be honest, even in New Jersey, when we took them to church, they did not understand a word that was said unless the priest came out and directly talked to the students in English. And it was a struggle getting 4 boys dressed up in their, you know, Sunday best, and to get them to church. It was not fun. They really did not want to get involved. So, which was heartbreaking for me because I very much grew up in a church, very much. So when we moved here, we saw there was another church, St. Nectarios, and it is multi-language Greek Orthodox church. So we have English was the base, a lot of Greek in there, but we had a lot of Georgian language, a lot of Armenian, a lot of Polish, a lot of Russian, because all of these transplants, we are all Greek Orthodox. They do not speak Greek, but they have converted to the Greek Orthodox religion. So this church immediately, when I tell you immediately, we walked in and they immediately embraced my kids. So from day one, what I was seeking, to be honest, in New Jersey that I didn't get with them, we got here. And so immediately my boys became altar boys, which they would never have done it in Clifton. It was just not something that they, quite frankly, felt comfortable doing. And when we moved here, they became altar boys. They went to Goya. They got to Sunday school. I became a Sunday school teacher assistant for kindergarten. It was like immediately embraced. And so that really, truly, like you said, how Greek, you know, how churches are everything to us, that really helped make our transition really easy.
So I did do a show. You're in Charlotte, you
yes,
said, right?
Last year, right, in Charlotte, in the cathedral,
right? Which is
yes.
St. Nicholas. Was that?
That is Ayia Triada.
No, Holy Trinity, right? Yeah,
Holy Trinity, yes.
Nicholas, and I was like, no, and I was like, no, it wasn't that one. Yeah, it was Holy Trinity Cathedral. Yes. I came. It was only like two years ago.
Yeah.
And they were great. It was the woman Irene Politis, who's like head of the Philoptochos of that, of like the southern region. And they were fun. They were funny. I mean, they were a lot of fun. I cracked up. I've done a few churches in the South-ish. I did one in where's the Army base? Fayetteville.
Yes.
Fayetteville. And I feel like I did another one and it's escaping me now, but you know, I go to Hilton Head every year.
Right.
So, but they have a very small, like pan-Orthodox churches. It's not even their church. It's the Catholic church that they get to use on Sunday morning. But anyway, what cracks me up is the Greek accent, or speaking Greek with a Southern accent. I'm sorry, what did you just say? So, because again, you can relate to this. We think that as Greek Americans here, that everybody in the country is like us, and not exactly that way. We are our own subculture.
Yes, agreed.
They were very lovely. I really enjoyed myself. And I mean, the backbone, the vision that you had to have and confidence to say to, because this wasn't just you, that you were going to pick up and move. This also is, your 4 sons and your husband, to know in your gut that this was the right decision. And you did it in 2014. So like I said, I want to talk about this because I thought that you were one of the pandemic people that left, but you were way ahead of the curve on this one. And then, listen, I love it up here, and I'm a New Yorker, and my whole essence is that. But I also, one, was an accountant, and two, I'm a realist, and I see what's happening. And it's the taxes. I mean, I always look at things from a tax perspective. So that, which is like, well, why are you here then? Are insane, the cost of living. And now this whole pandemic, which is a completely casoprama, like a thing that came out of God knows where, well, China, but you know what I'm saying, just this thing that came out of everywhere, has really made people reevaluate, and it also now has exacerbated. So as you know, small businesses have suffered here, and I'm sure in New Jersey as well, maybe not to the same degree, but still people, I shouldn't say that, because you know what, now that I think about it, on the local news, you got the gyms fighting with Governor Murphy and all this other kind of stuff, so I kind of take that back. So it's bad, it's a bad, it's a bad scene. So you're supposed to make that X amount of dollars, and because the cost is so much more. So anyway, all this to say that, boy, you were really, you won.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because my husband and I were just talking last weekend, because really, just to give you perspective, so we owned a little 2-family duplex in North Arlington, 2014. Our taxes were about $9,000. Our plot of land was 40 by 90. Right. Our house was 60 years old when we sold it, and it was young, right? So then we came to North Carolina, and the home that we purchased was $80,000 less. It was 3 times the size, 3. It was 5 years old, and our taxes were less than 20% of what we paid in New Jersey. And to be fair, I already had a job lined up here. So MetLife was re-evaluating their offices in New York and New Jersey. They moved their entire marketing division to Charlotte. And when we were here that Thanksgiving weekend, my realtor, because we were just going around looking at, what could we do? And she said, well, MetLife has just broke ground. You really should check them out. So that was Sunday. I went home Sunday night back to New Jersey. I applied Sunday night. Monday morning, I got a call. Thursday morning, I had an interview, and then I had a job. So we came here with a job that was similar, and I'll tell you exact pay of what I was getting paid in New Jersey. And so when you look at the economics, you said your tax, your background, when you look at the economics, it just made 100% sense for us to come. So, and my husband is in construction. So he just came here. We did connect with Greek people who had been here for, I think, 20 years, also from New Jersey, that had a big multiple construction companies. And he started with them just to get a lay of the land and get an understanding of how things work. And then that took about maybe 6 months. And then he broke off and rebuilt the business he had in New Jersey. He rebuilt it here. And so we've really come it's been really great.
So I completely get you. Financially, it was the best decision. You gave a better quality of life to your children. Having Greeks there obviously worked out, thank God. So now my big question is, what was it like to leave your family and your friends and everything that you knew? Because that's like the other thing about it. And I have a bit of separation anxiety to begin with, which is why I was in long relationships before I met my husband, that I should have been out of. But although I've gotten much better at, I'm still with my husband, but I'm just saying, in general, like I've gotten much better because I've gotten older and I realized, time's ticking. But that's a big thing. And here I've got my sisters, my nieces, my nephews. I mean, I'm certainly not ready to go anyplace at this moment. But aunts and uncles and stuff. So although as you get older, some people are no longer here, but still, there's still plenty and friends and again, everything I know. So what about that? Like I get the money part totally, but then when you had to actually say goodbye and do it, and how was that? Like, how did you get through that? How would you tell somebody to get through something like that? Because I'm having anxiety like thinking about it.
Yeah. And you know what? The friends that we left behind, they tell me that too. How did you just pick up and leave? We could never leave our family in New Jersey. We could never leave our community and our friends behind. And you know what? the reality is this: when you have 4 kids, really that's all you think about, their future. This is what me and my husband think about.
Mhm.
And it was difficult to leave my parents. Like I said, they lived 6 blocks away. They took care of my kids. They ran them to their sports. And my youngest son was like 1.5 years old when we left them. And my father was like, "Boss, where are you going? You can't just pick up and leave." But I'll tell you, my husband and I were just like, this is what we need for our family. And I hate to say it, but your parents don't pay your bills. Your aunts and uncles, we have a great Christmas party, but they're not highly involved in, the day-to-day of what it takes to raise your 4 kids. And we are a close family on both sides of my family. And my best friend and my husband's best friend, they're there. All of our best friends are Kubati. They're all from New York and New Jersey. I got 4 of them, right? They're all from there. So in a sense, it was hard, but we always said, we're just a drive away. It's 10 hours, if you speed a little bit. So it's 10 hours away. And when the first year we went back once so that the kids could see everybody. My parents, the first year, visited 6 times. They were constantly, they wouldn't let us get away at all. At all. I think the first weekend we were down, my mom's like, "We're coming." So, and I think because we have such a large family, it was easier for us to adapt because we kept each other company. And it wasn't just, if it was just me and my husband, we wouldn't make the move. If we had 1 kid, we probably wouldn't make the move.
Mhm.
It is difficult, but because we are a very large, active, very connected family, we're just like, okay. And we do come up. So we've come up on Christmas. We have to stay at a hotel now because we're big to be shoving in, the houses. But we come up and we visit, and I talk to my friends daily from there.
Do your parents ever think of coming down? Because it is great for people, that are older, the weather's better, get cheaper. Do they think about downsizing at all?
I've tried. So I think I spent the first 2 years convincing them that they should come because selfishly, I needed their help. I still had to raise my kids, and we were all alone, really. I mean, we had our friends that had moved down, but they were raising their kids too. And, everybody's just got life. And now I think they're happy. They don't want to detach from their friends and their pareja and my dad's brothers, right? So, and I think like, okay, you're good where you are. You just come visit. Because now before, and very typical of a Greek family, if mama said no, yaya says yes.
Right.
Or you call papu, right? Or you call fia. And somebody's always saying yes and giving you what you want. Or, telling your mother, don't do that to the kid. Don't you feel... Here, my kids had no choice. It was what we said. So we very much went from a yam papu constant, influence, a good one in their life, to like mom and dad, and this is what we say. So now I'm like, okay, we're raising them alone. Everybody's fine. Nobody killed each other. Nobody died. Like everybody's good. You guys stay and there because it's their life. They don't know anybody here other than us. And like our little group of friends that we've become friends with, but that's they're now have no kids at home. It's just the 2 of them. They get to do things they couldn't do when they were watching my 4 boys, right? Because my boys were there all the time. So now they travel and now they go on hikes with their friends. Whereas every weekend we were dumping my kids at their house, to be honest, so we can go to the bazooka, so we can go to Astoria. It's true. We would go to Astoria. We would go to bars. We would go to clubs. We'd do it all because Jan Papu had the kids. So we had a very quick lesson in how to stay home with your children 24/7 back in 2014.
How old are your boys now?
Now 1 will be 20, 1 will be 16 next month, 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice range.
Every 4 years.
And how, God, you are much better than I will ever be. And what was it when you told, the oldest, would be the one that would be the most affected probably from that age, or the first 2, like, so what was their reaction?
So, they also understood that we wanted to give them more than we could in New Jersey. And, my husband and I always had these grand plans, and we would go look at these houses that were $800,000, $900,000. And we'd think, how are we going to do this? We just need space, right? Like, we're not looking for luxury. We just needed space. And so my oldest one was going into high school. So it was a natural break. My youngest one was just in third grade or second. When did we come here? He was going into fourth grade. And my third was starting kindergarten. So those first and third, it was a smart move at the time. And, you know, we brought them down before we bought a house and decided for sure. We brought them down for Easter, actually. And we went to St. Nectarios for Easter. So the church here does a picnic for Easter. So we don't have a big fat Greek, you know, lamb spit in the backyard. We don't have a million cousins. So because there's so many transplants, they do a huge agape picnic. And my kids went and they were like, well, this is fun. There's bouncy houses here and we get to eat lamb and there's Greek music playing. And, you know, they met other kids their age. And literally it was that day that they got excited. And then we had Easter at my friend's house. And so then we drove around and they were like, this is cool. We could live here. They thought they were going to go to like a farm, right? And when you hear Carolina, you think, oh God, I'm going to go out in the sticks somewhere. And it's not like that. It's when I tell you it's booming here. When we came, I think it was the initial wave of Northerners coming and a lot of people from Ohio. Now on weekends, there are lines of cars with New York and New Jersey plates, house hunting, and they're buying. I have realtor friends here now. They're buying things sight unseen, and because they need to get out of whatever, you know, is up there, which is still here. So it's kind of nuts. But I think what you said, you know, people are like, well, how are we going to make our lives work if we're out, if our businesses are closed, if I'm on furlough, how are we going to pay all these taxes and all these bills? So I think, and also just the craziness of, you know, having a lot of people in small amount of space. So
I do think that New York, New Jersey, California, the governors there are of a different mindset. I mean, you know, whatever, I'll just be blunt. They're blue states. I'm no fan of Cuomo. De Blasio, by the way, our mayor, he has managed to bring everybody from every political spectrum together. Everybody hates it. There's nobody that likes this. Nobody. Okay. He's disgusting. He's a socialist. He has destroyed the city, and he was destroying it before the pandemic. This just gave him an opportunity to really put the nail in the coffin. But they've made a lot of rules here that I don't personally agree with. That doesn't mean I don't think we shouldn't be safe, and I don't have empathy, and, you know, and all this stuff. And we won't get into the whole pandemic thing. But it seems like the Carolinas, Florida, other states have done things a little bit differently. So they've allowed their people to prosper. And so, you know, I think numbers wise, at the end of the day, it's all, you know, sort of the same. You know, each state is sort of spiked up at different times. I didn't do all the analysis, so I can't say, you know, exactly, but it doesn't seem like one suffered more than the other over the entire period of time because of their, you know, their policy. And I mean, you know, to me, obviously, if you're vulnerable and all that other kind of stuff, you have to take care of yourself. To each his own. I'm more about letting people make their own decisions. But anyway, whatever. Again, I don't want to get into all of that. But the Carolinas, for sure, one of the reasons why they're attractive, I believe, is people here. I mean, this is blunt. And this is, by the way, again, left and right people are doing all this. They're just done with the politics and the taxes. So now they've shut down businesses. So at some point, this Caso Brama is going to pass. And then what? And then where are you going to get the revenue? Broadway, everything is shut down here. Like, a huge part of New York City is tourism. Here's them. Once the money is lost, you can't get it back. It's just like when you play in the stock market, you know, you lost on that stock, you're not making it back. You're making, you know, you can make something
long term, maybe. I think that there's no plan. And I'll be honest, I don't feel particularly more planned here in the Carolinas than I would have up there. We do have lockdowns in place. We do have a lot of the similar things that what's going on up there. People are like I live in a red county next to a blue dot, which is Charlotte. I'm not going to tell you what side I'm on, but I see both sides, especially where I live. And I just think that people are done with politics everywhere, no matter what side you're on. And the pandemic has made it worse because now you're done with politics and you're done with sickness and you're done. And I think, it either impacts you're going to move this way, like you're going to take certain steps, or it impacts you're just going to say, F it, and I'm going to do something else. So, and I think if you come here or wherever you pick up and plunk down, you need a plan. Like you can't just pick up and run away. So what I always tell people is, if your life is crap up here, when you come down here, your life's going to be crap. So you have to be good with who you are, what you're doing, your faith, your belief inside, and then that will follow. But if you've got a shit show up here, that shit show is going to follow you. So you really have to be, willing to have a plan in place and be willing to adapt. And I'll be honest, like I just recently moved again to another area within the same town, within the same area. There's a lot of New York and New Jersey's coming down. And I'll be honest, we left there for a reason. So, and we left there and got more quiet. And now all of a sudden everybody's giving the middle finger at a stoplight and they're beeping. That never happened 6 years ago. That was not a thing 6 years ago. I mean, I went like 30 in my neighborhood 6 years ago and my neighbors started yelling at me. Right. And like now you're hearing the beeping and you're hearing the middle finger and you're seeing people cut people off. This is a new development here. And that didn't happen when we moved here. So
they're bringing their attitude
yes.
And the anger with them. That's a really, really interesting point.
I think it takes a while. So either they're going to, this is how I saw it with people that we see, so either they're going to mellow out and adapt because you don't have all the stresses of similar of like can't pay the bills and blah blah blah. You don't have all that you might up there because things are a little bit more expensive. You also have more room, so the squeezed in feeling, you don't have that here. So maybe as they stay a little longer, maybe they'll mellow out. Right. Or maybe the rest of the this Charlotte area will start beeping and giving the middle finger. I don't know. It remains to be seen.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for sharing all that. It's definitely something that's going to keep on, evolving as time goes on and as longer this thing goes on. And look, whatever it's not even, I hate calling it political beliefs. I don't put myself in one box. I feel one way about a topic. I feel not. So although when you're on a talk show and all this, you wind up labeling yourself or whatever. Listen, economics, because I've got a background, I understand it. I'm definitely much more conservative. I'm about, business and capitalism and all that. But I'm certainly about religious freedom and people's choices and people making their own decisions. And, I don't like this, micromanagement. That's what I have a problem with certainly in this state and right. This governor. And to go on and to have a conference, for 3 hours and bloviate and talk about his brother, and you've got an ego that's just massive and disgusting and revolting.
Well, the good thing about moving out of there is you don't even give a crap what goes on up there anymore. I'll be honest, I stopped watching, what goes on in New York, New Jersey. My dad will call me and say, I'm like, I have no idea.
Well, I say this too. It's like all of these people have jobs. Yeah. Everybody that's telling you to stay home and stay inside and, take this as a moment and reflect. And you have a job, you have a constant paycheck, you have health benefits, you have a pension.
Right. And if you are blessed to be able to do that, like I feel like I am. I have a corporate job, in addition to writing. So I do, for me, all this craziness, it is a blessing because I am home with my kids. I don't have to commute to work. I have a great job. I still do my writing. I have my benefits, my husband too. So we are grateful and blessed to be that. but the majority of people are not in our shoes. And so you really have to wonder, parents and people who have to go out and earn an hourly wage, that's most of America. So how do you make that work? And how do you take a moment to reflect and love your kids when you can't put food on the table? So I get it. And
well, but your job, you're working for a company. Those jobs, the governor, the president, the Congress, they work for us. And that's something that is completely certainly here it's like a kingdom. Like I said, I've lived here my whole life, I've never seen a mayor like this before, or anybody in public office like this guy. But anyway, be that as it may, you made obviously the right decision
for us. Yeah.
And you're happy with it. The point is you're happy with it. It's not like, yeah, I got more money, but yeah, it's okay and it's boring, you know. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll kind of see how it all, you know, plays out. Again, for me, that's not quite where I'm at, but I absolutely understand it. And if I had a different mindset, I would probably, you know, be online to do that well. And listen, even, you know, young single people that came here to go out and this and that, they've either, you know, moved back home or moved back to wherever they came from. Why be in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 people paying, you know, $2,000 a month and and this and that, when you can now work remotely, make that same living? There's nothing here. You can't go out. You can't meet anybody. You know, it's not like that anymore.
Right.
So at the moment, there's no Broadway and, you know, there's nothing to go out to. So I get it. Anyway, let's get to the book and how you got into writing children's books. And was the Lucky series your first foray, or what was it as an author, at least?
Yeah. So no, my background is in journalism. I went to Syracuse University for journalism, and I had a minor in child and family studies. So when I graduated, I went to work for a magazine, and then then that magazine folded, and I went to work for Scholastic. So I took my minor in child and family studies and I went to Scholastic, and I started there my whole children's publishing career. So from Scholastic, then I went to, I worked for Jacques Cousteau. He had a children's magazine. He used to be my boss. That was exciting. I worked at Sesame Street for 7 years. So all of this is it's my passion: children's writing, children's publishing, educational writing for kids. That is my passion.
What did you do on Sesame Street? Did you work on 64th Street and
Lincoln Center, my favorite part of the city?
I lived in the next building.
Yeah. So, oh, really? Oh, yeah. So yeah, I loved, I did that before I had kids. And then after I had 2 kids, I would go back and consult for about 2 years. So I worked in the magazine division, and they had what used to be, you probably remember, 321 Contact, an electric company. They had their own magazines called Kid City and 321 Contact. So I was an editor and a writer for those magazines for 7 years, 96 to 2001. Then I had my son. And then September 11th hit. And I was with a 6-month-old in my arms watching the towers fall, where I used to go through that building to get to my job when I was at Scholastic. So I said, I'm never going back to New York. I was really scared and probably postpartum, but I said, I'm never going back to New York. So for 2 years, I think I worked from home and I consulted. And that's when I started writing books. So 2001, a publisher reached out to me and was like, you want to write a book about space? I probably have it somewhere. And I was like, write a book? I've only written articles, 300, to 600 word articles. But my friend who also worked at Sesame Street, we co-authored the book together. And I loved having a book. And when I went to Barnes & Noble, because that was a thing back then, went to Barnes & Noble, my book was on the shelf with my name on it. I mean, that was like, it really felt amazing, because all my life I wanted to be an author. Since 2nd grade, I was telling my parents I'm going to be an author. And they were like, how about you be a yatro? I'm like, I don't want to be a doctor. Like, how about you be an orthodontist? Like, no, I don't want to be an orthodontist. My father was like, Vicky Coros, go become a lawyer. I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. So 2001 first book, and now I'm probably at around 50 for other major companies. And in 2011, I had my 3rd son, and we were at New Year's at Ian Papu's house, and my oldest son got the coin in the Vasilopita. And my second son and him started fighting over the coin and like crying. Like, why did Zach get the coin and how come I can't have it? I was like, Mom, what the heck with this coin? Why do we only have one in here? She's like, I don't know. That's a tradition. I'm like, what kind of tradition is this? What is this about? She's like, call Yaya. She probably knows the story. So I called my grandmother in Florida. I'm like, Yaya, why do we only put one coin in the Vasilopita? What's that about? Oh, Vefima, me pedimo dexero, Kati metonayo Vasili with a coin. And I was like, well, my mom doesn't know. My grandmother doesn't remember. Let me, and I just started reaching out. They were like, yeah, metonayo Vasili. Something metonayo Vasili. And I was like, this is, yeah. And I was, St. Basil, right. So I was like, this is not okay. All these Greeks from, Greece who go to church all their lives, we don't know the whole story. So I started researching it just for my kids to say, here's St. Basil, here's what he did, this is the story behind it. And then I thought, this is a great story. Why is there not a kid's book written about this? So that's what started it. And I did the research. And then I was like, well, I know Scholastic and Discovery Channel and all the companies I had highlights, they're not going to publish a book about a Greek tradition.
Right.
So I just said, at this point, I had my master's in publishing from NYU in book publishing. So I was like, I got my master's in publishing. I have a name in the children's world. I'm just going to start my own publishing company and I'm going to write about Greek traditions, because my kids and me, when I was growing up, I didn't see myself in the books that I was reading, right? Like Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary, they were not my life, and they were great books to read, but that was not my life. And I just decided I was going to get the Greek tradition. So I started with the lucky cake. And I was going to tell a story through the eyes of little Billy. Where is he? Here he is. So this is my defective Billy with no nose.
Oh my God.
He's defective. I have another one. And so I just decided that I'm going to write the story. Here's the nose one. So I'm going to write the story so that my kids and other kids can know about this coin. And it took off. I mean, most of my marketing was with the Greek churches, and I had some booths at festivals to get the word out. But the kids and the families, they were so grateful. Oh, finally, somebody's telling the story. And then I had it, in Greek. So I had it translated to Greek for Greek American, not Greek, because we read and we understand a little bit differently. So for Greek American kids. And I just really loved that book, and it sparked then for Easter. So my kids would be like cracking eggs. And I was like, I have to tell this story too. Why do we crack red eggs? Why? So now I made the lucky egg, which is what you have. And, then I sat for a little bit because we moved and I have a family, I have a career, and I just sat on it. But in my head, all these years, and I'm still writing, I have a career. I'm in corporate marketing for a large financial services industry business. So it's big full-time, big job. But still the passion is my writing. And so this book, The Lucky Day, has been wanting to come out for 5 years. It's like I've been pregnant for 5 years and I have to give birth to this baby. And it would literally keep me up at night. And I'd be, showering and thinking about the book. And I'd be taking a walk with the dog, thinking about the book. And finally, last year, because I didn't have to commute anymore to go up to my job in Charlotte, I now had an extra 2 hours a day that I could get back. And I thought, well, this is like a godsend. I'm going to sit and I'm going to write this book. And in a weekend, or like in 2 days, I wrote the book. And then I'm like, I'm going to reach out to my illustrator who lives in Athens in Greece. And she's homebound. I'm sure she has, she's also not traveling the world like she usually does. She was available. So then that was great. And my illustrator is actually in New Jersey. I used to work with her at Sesame Street. So she does the graphic design. And it just came together. And that's about 25 de Martio, so March 25th. And the 2021 is the 200th anniversary of the Greek Revolution of 1821. So it was the right time for this to come out. I'm very excited. I love all my books. They're like my babies. They're like my children. I love them all dearly, but this one holds a special place because, growing up in Greek school, I would say poems and I didn't know what the heck the words meant. And I would just recite them so mama, baba, and papunya can take their pictures and everybody can clap. But I didn't understand. Like the dress that we wore, what is it? And the fustanella that my cousins wore, why did they? And so I just started digging into the history and I made the story about it. So kids can understand, what is it that we celebrate? Why do we have these? I mean, we used to go to the big Greek parade in New York. Obviously that didn't happen last year, probably not this year, but that was it's a fabric of Greek diaspora. So even in Canada and Boston and Chicago and in other countries in Europe, they have Greek Independence Day parades. So it's such a part of our being and culture when you're outside of Greece, and obviously in Greece they do, that I just thought kids need to understand, and in a way that's friendly and colorful and not just these words you have to memorize for Greek school. So that's very exciting for me. And the next one's coming out for for October. It's called The Lucky Word, and it's about Orchidee. So that is the illustrators working on the cover right now. I'll have it next week, and I'll probably write it over Christmas break when I have some time off of work, because that also needs to come out. So, and then I have The Lucky Name. That's got to come out. We have to talk about the name days. Like, there's all these things that,
all right. So you are blowing me away because, and we'll talk more, when we're done. But as you know, I have written a children's book.
A good one.
Actually,
I read it.
I can announce it now because it will go live on Amazon by the time this airs.
Awesome.
Called Special People, Godparents in the Orthodox Christian Community, or the Christian faith. And I'm so, there's so many thoughts going in my head right now, but I'm so happy that you said this was 5 years in my head, because mine was also 5 years. Now, you've already written a ton of other books before. This is my first one. And I want to say here publicly on this podcast that I went to you, and we had never met. We're Facebook friends, and you very generously offered your time gratis to me, and you reviewed my book, and we spoke, and you gave me advice, and I will always be grateful for that. And it was so generous, and I was like, this woman is so special. So I want to thank you publicly for that.
You don't need to do that.
No, that was huge. That was really big, because I'm one of these people, like, I have done a lot of things, but I just don't do anything very well. I was an accountant, I was finance, I'm a comedian, I'm an actress, but everything is very mediocre. And I wanted to do this book for a lot of reasons. And was, first of all, I don't have children like you, but I have godchildren, and they mean the world to me. And it's, I think I'm going to speak for all of us that don't have children, because I know other people like me, we don't have children, but we have godchildren. And we probably take it to another level than people that are godparents that have their own children. So, especially all the kids, but I mean, my one goddaughter, she's also my niece. I mean, I was there right when she was born. Like, I held her warm, like she was like right out of the oven, so I have a special connection with all of them. And I'm lucky because I have an amazing godmother. So it was an homage to her, also my mother. And I also taught Sunday school like you, because of my goddaughter, not because I had it in my mind. And it was really like an accident. I took her to church because my sister was frazzled, and I brought her downstairs. And I really wasn't going to the cathedral that much. And I brought her downstairs to Sunday school because I said to my sister, when is she going to go to church? And she's like, I can't. I'm tired.
It's a lot.
And then she's like, will you help me? And I'm like, yeah. And I figured, okay, I'm the nuna. And as a matter of fact, that's what she was 3 years old, and she wasn't taking her to church. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm the godmother. This is my, I got to say something. Anyway, I take my niece downstairs. It's in disarray. And I'm like, well, I can't leave her here because I might lose her. I have to bring her home,
I've been downstairs. I know what you're talking about.
Right, because when it's not your kid, you have to return them. Like there's no excuse. So I stayed, and then I was there for a few minutes, and I'm like, well, can I help you? You know, kind of want to sit there like a giddy, And so they're like, yeah, can you go grab the snacks? And whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure. Anyway, long story short, I became an assistant teacher. Then I became a teacher, and 13 years later, I am still doing it. So
that's a happy accident. That's a good thing.
It is. So that was another thing. And then I would teach the kids about godparents, and we used your books, by the way, as references. Well, because now I have 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, but I did teach the younger kid for a long time. And you did come to our church, the cathedral, and I was not there that day. I think I had a gig that weekend. But I have, as a matter of fact, you signed them for my niece. So and we have your bookmark. But we use them, and actually your book we read every when we come back from Christmas break. So whatever that first Sunday is in January, it's once in a while happens to be January 1st.
Right.
We have the kids. We do a group Sunday school. We cut Vasilopita and we read your book. That has been the tradition now for years at the cathedral. So I have to tell you this, and I want to say this publicly. You were a bit of an inspiration to me, like kind of planted the seed in sort of doing this, except I have to tell you, I had no idea of your vast background in education and publishing. I just thought, oh yeah, okay, I can do this too. She did it. It wasn't like that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. You know what? I'm here to tell everybody, by the way, that this looks easy. Not so much. And I did my godparent book, and as you saw, there were a lot of things that were technical. I actually had to sit with Father John Vlachos. I sat with Presbytera Georgia Papadopoulos. I mean, I got like a lot of people to take a look at the technical part, because as we know, we're Greeks, and everybody take this the right way. But if there's a mistake, you're going to hear about it tenfold.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the lucky egg. I was actually at a festival in Winston-Salem. I have a cousin in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We came down to do a festival because she wanted me to do the books, and they offered me a spot in a reading. And I had the draft of the lucky egg in my hand. And the presbytera walked by and she said, "Can I just take a look?" I said, "Absolutely, please." So she read it and she's like, "You have a mistake here." I was like, "What?" And it was the three women who went to Christ's tomb to see him, and I had one, because I wasn't really researching the religious part. I was just telling a story, and it was literally in production. I had to halt production, get the illustrator back on board to fix the illustrations, and then we had to re-upload all. I mean, it's a lot of work. Like you said, it's not easy. And there's so much you have to think about when you're writing for kids: the language, the visuals, the picture, the word, I mean, everything. And people are like, "Oh, you wrote a book. Oh, that's nice." I'm like, "No, you have no idea."
No, I
do it.
I mean, now I feel like, we're in that club, and mine's also a picture book.
Right.
And so the pictures, the words, they have to match.
Yep, they need to flow. And I want to tell you something. So the gift that we all have a gift, right? And whatever that might be, we as Greek Orthodox humans on this earth, it is our job to continue the traditions, to tell the stories. So whether you do it, if you're a Sunday school teacher, or you do it as an author, or you do it as a choir person, or you do it as whatever it is that you do, it is our job. And this is just, to me, it's an honor that I get to do this, to tell the stories. And really, that's why I do it. And that's why, you mentioned like, "Oh, I helped you." I helped you because you also want to tell a story. That's very important. And you have the ability and the drive to do it. And so that's how I help within our community. Like, we need to get these stories out. And it's going to take more than you and me to do it. And like the two other, or a couple other handful of authors. No, there's a lot of us actually, Greek Orthodox writers, but it takes a village, and it is our responsibility to carry that out, not just from a religious perspective, from a cultural perspective, from a tradition perspective, from a language perspective. If we don't do it, the next generations will lose it. And I see from my own, I was brought up speaking Greek, going to church, going to Greek school, the whole kit and caboodle, dancing, my dress, everything. My kids are not. They're not. And it's not because we moved to North Carolina. And my husband is from Greece, like Greek, and their Greek is limited. Shame on us, but their Greek is limited. So as the years go on, all of that deteriorates. So it is really our duty to continue it as best as we can with the tools that we have and the abilities and the everything that we've been given to tell the stories, right? Like our talents, they're given from above. And so we use our talents, we use our tools, and we do what we can to continue that. And that to me is, why I'm here. That's
well, let me tell you, I'm very excited. I will be ordering your new book. And let me say that what happened was I was scrolling through Facebook. I didn't realize it. I was going to get in touch with you because I was starting to, honestly, this week was when we saw the light with the book.
Oh, good.
Which again, we'll talk offline. But I was gonna definitely touch base with you when it was all done. But I was scrolling through Facebook. There's a zillion things there, and it caught my eye because it's a gorgeous blue. I love color.
Beautiful.
As do a lot of other people, of course. And it caught my eye, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is beautiful. What? And then I'm like, where did she get the time to write? I can't believe I'm still working on this first book that I spoke to her about 2 years ago. And this was like, to me,
yourself, yeah.
Oh my God. So, but anyway, it was adorable. And I'm like, good for you. I was so excited. That's why I was like, all right, listen, let me get her on the show. Let's talk about it. And it's so interesting. And, yours, you have a character that you've developed, Billy, which I love because that lets the kids sort of go through it with this. They identify with a character. And I love the illustrations. They're adorable. Like it all fits for your series. I mean, it's all great. It's all, it's like a set, like the Dr. Seuss set and, like every other set.
And so that is the point, because I want families to keep this in their family. I want it to be passed down. I want it on your bookshelf. I want you to pull it out on New Year's and on Easter and on March 25th and on Oki Day. I want the families to do that and keep that story alive with their kids. And then when those kids get older, they're going to do it with their kids. We might not have parades when my kids are 30 years old. I don't know. We might not, celebrate Ohi Day here in America. I don't know. But at least if they have the books and the stories, they can continue that.
I love what you said. I completely agree with you that it is a bit worrisome. And now I know how my grandparents felt and how my parents felt when we see our kids, again, they lose something. I call it diluted. So none of my nieces and nephews really know Greek. As a matter of fact, there are cousins in my generation that don't know Greek.
Agreed, mine too.
Because their parents, I mean, I have one specifically is coming to my mind, but their parents, one of my father's many brothers and his wife were both Greek, grew up Brooklyn, 3 Hyrax, the whole 9 yards. They chose not to teach their kids Greek because they felt their parents were too Greek.
Right.
And they don't know like a lick. So, and listen, and then some of them, as they became adults, they went to, they sort of picked and choose what they, like some of them felt like something was lost. Right. So they picked and choose. But I will say this, I don't want to discount you can never learn a language, but sure, I'll speak for Greeks because that's the one that I know. It really is easier if you can get some of that when they're kids, because it's a very difficult language. When you're an adult, there's a different alphabet. It's a whole different thing. But anyway, I completely agree with you and about the traditions, and I'm trying to do that also with my nieces and nephews. And I know it's hard, and everybody's got a million things to do, but we got to take this time. Just it's something, one thing. That's why, honestly, church is a good thing for a lot of reasons, but it also puts you in that mindset.
Right. Yeah. I think, for my generation, I'm just going to speak for what I me. in my generation. We were women, right? We were raised to go to college and get a career and go gangbusters on your career. And I'm grateful for it because it got me where I am today. But it took away all the things that my mom did with me. Baked kuluria, bake those Greek cookies, made sureka. I don't do that stuff. I go to the store, I order online. I go to the Greek store when I was in New Jersey, or, I order them from the churches, the philoptochos that make them, because they know what they're doing. Right. And so I just think the least we can do is read a book to them about it. If we can't do all the things that our parents or grandparents, somebody in our family did, if we can't do that, the least we can do is read them a book about it or tell them a story about it or, something. Our generation, again, we grew up to be career oriented. And quite honestly, I think we got a little lazy. I grew up very Greek and I got lazy. Like, okay, my kids will learn it, whatever. And, it's not that important. They'll be just fine. And really, you turn around and your kids are, 15 and 20 and you take them to Greece. And we all went to Greece as a family for the first time. It's a lot to take 6 people to Greece. I'll just tell you that much. And to take off 3 weeks because you got to go see every aunt, uncle, and cousin. So we took them last year, thank God. Like I was like, I got to take my family to Greece now, or it's never going to happen. So we took them last summer. And literally my kids turned around and said to me, why haven't we been here before? Why did you wait this long? And again, my husband's from Greece. And he has gone back a couple times to see his family because we couldn't do the 6 people, but and they felt so connected, which here they could give a lick if they were learning Greek. They could, okay, they had their church friends, they went to church, but they didn't. To teach them Greek dancing was like torture. But then we went to Greece and they picked up the language better, and they listen to Greek music now. Whereas before it was like, shut that off. We don't want to hear it. So
rebellion too. So it's like, you don't want to do it because your parents want you.
Right. And we got lazy too. We didn't make them. My father made us speak Greek in the house.
My mother, I fought my mother with going to church especially when I became a teenager. I went to Greek parochial school by the way.
Oh wow.
So I did my whole life was that church. The Girl Scouts were there. I took ballet there. Like everything was there. And then when we moved to the suburbs, when I was in high school, it was a whole different thing. Then I was like the only Greek. It was the weirdest. I mean, it was very weird. And then you want to assimilate, so you want to be like them. And I was like, no, I want to go to Catholic church. Like my friends, they go to 5 o'clock mass. I thought her head was going to explode. Then God mass and mass. Yes, it's liturgia. And she was going to just shut me off.
No.
So, so I fought it. And years later, when I started to teach Sunday school, as a matter of fact, and I really started getting into it, and I went back, because I went back on my own terms. And also, we have to admit, religion is a very hard concept to understand when you're a child.
Yeah.
And there was just so much. And then also when you're a child, you don't have the challenges as an adult.
Right. So
it's not like you're looking for prayer or solace, or you're doing such bad things that something bad is going to happen. Like all of that you're a kid.
Right.
So so it is like conflicting. But I try to teach Sunday school, and especially now that over the years I've done the older kids, the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. Like I'm talking about coronavirus, and I talked about the election, not in terms of political. I was talking about respecting everybody's opinion, and not disparaging people because of who they vote for, and that's your right, and that's not Christ-like. I always try to bring because let's face it, in this country now we've lost our minds. So, but anyway, I remember a few years into teaching Sunday school, my mother said to me, I'm so proud of you, which is like, I can burst out into tears thinking about it. And she told me a story how when I was 15, the priest at our parish at that time, she talked to him and she told him how I can't get Ellen to go to church, and she fights me on it every day. And the priest said, Father John, he said, don't worry, if you've built built a good foundation, they always come back.
Mhm.
I will, and I'm getting chills right now. And I totally believe that. So even if you're kind of kicking and they're dragging and I don't want to go and this and that and by the way, just for all the Xeni, for all the people that don't know, we get dressed up. We don't go in jeans and flip-flops. And if you go in jeans and flip-flops, you're going to get stared at. And that's just the way it is. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
Put your thumbs away. Okay. You don't have to wear a gown, but you got to at least present for God. That's how I say.
Right. Right. But I will say down here, it's a little bit more relaxed than it is up there.
Uh-huh. Oh, it is.
Okay. Yeah. You're not going in jeans and flip-flops, but you don't need the full 9.
Right. No, I get that. No, I get that. But anyway, so I really believe that. And I think that that's important. So if anybody's listening, whoever's listening to this and that is going on, just try to keep in mind that you're investing for the future. It will, it will come back. They will feel like you miss it. Even my cousins later on, like I said, who didn't learn Greek and didn't this and didn't. And I remember one of my cousin Jason going, saying to his mother, how come you didn't teach me Greek? And, like the last things she wanted to hear.
I know. My kids are like, how come we never came here before? How come, and it's just life,
Right. So before we end and we plug where we can get the book and stuff, you also got into health and wellness, which is a big thing for me as well, as much as in between binging on sweets. But
and COVID dreaded pounds, right?
Oh my God. I'm trying. Listen, I do my best. The one thing I will say about living in New York City prior to all this is we are very active and we're not in our cars.
Yes.
I mean, walking is everything to me. I'm a subway person, I'm a bus person. So I do miss, I even find, even though I work out every day and I do online stuff and whatever, I definitely feel like I've lost a bit of that activity. And I do go out, but I got the stupid mask on. And then, I will walk as far because I'm wearing the mask.
I know, I get you. Yep.
So, so you got very into health and wellness as well, right? Yep. In a program and with vitamins and whatnot. If you want to talk about it, feel free.
Sure. So my health journey actually started 3 years ago. I had pneumonia. I had a migraine for 7 days. Horrible. And I had to go to work and it was just horrible. And I drove myself to the ER. You're in trouble when you're driving yourself to the ER. So I drove myself to the ER and they were like, we don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong with you. So they gave me a bunch of migraine meds. I went home. I slept for like 3 days. My mom flew from New Jersey to take care of my kids. So I couldn't function. And then I got pneumonia deep in my right lung. And I was overweight and I was not working out and I was not taking care of my health. And, I woke up one day and I was like, well, I really thought I was going to die. I told my husband, and I was 43. I said, get the life insurance documents, have them in your hand. Like I'm going to ER and I'm not coming out. That's how I felt. So anyway, that morning, it was like February 28th. I remember the day, or February 27th, whatever the leap thing was. And I woke up and I said, well, either I'm going to die in this bed and I'm not going to see my kids grow up and I'm not going to do all the things that we want to realize in our life, or I'm going to move my butt and I'm going to go get healthy. And I started seeing a naturopathic doctor. So I was with her for 2 years. I didn't know how to eat. I just didn't know that what's in the food, how it impacts you. And I didn't know that getting minerals and nutrients in your body then makes you crave. You talk about craving a lot. It makes you crave chocolate. It makes you crave cakes and chips and all the things that make you fat and give you diabetes and all these things. And I just thought, I'm just a slob. I have no willpower. I am just disgusting and I just can't do it. So she helped me change that mind frame and help me see the food that we are putting in our bodies and what it does to us. So that started a couple years ago. And then again, COVID hit. So I was doing great, going to the gym, walking a lot, being outdoors. COVID hit. Now I'm stuck inside with 4 kids, a husband, a dog, and it was miserable. I think this is miserable on so many levels for different people. Your misery is different than mine. But I became probably severely depressed. And we probably don't talk about that a lot because we're Greek, but I wake up and I was in the process of moving a house. My kids were all being homeschooled. It was just nuts. And I woke up one morning, I was like, I literally thought to myself, I have to do this again. I have to get up again today. Literally. Why should I feel that way? I have a good family. Everybody's healthy. My book's coming out. Why am I feeling like this? And at that moment, I happened to get up and look at my phone because I did not want to get out of bed. I didn't want to walk the dog. It was 6:30 in the morning. I didn't want to do any of this. And my friend posted like, and she's a teacher with COVID. Her husband's a police officer. They're from New York too, by the way. They live down here. And her post was, I have never felt more amazing, especially during this time. And I was like, well, shit, I want to feel that. Right. And I texted her right away. I'm like, what are you doing? Count me in. Didn't care what it was because I knew I didn't want to feel and look the way that I did in September. I was misery. And I felt like, again, where I was when I had the migraine and the pneumonia. So I joined Isagenix. I started doing it. I immediately, within 3 days, my body lost like 7 pounds. And, you know, when you're overweight or when you have a food disorder, you get on the scale every day. And if it goes up a half a pound, you're beating yourself up and you're like, you know, it's horrible. And like, you're thinking, why? I only ate a spoonful of chocolate, a spoonful of cake. Why am I up 2 pounds? And it's frustrating and you give up and you get depressed and you beat yourself up and you hate how you look and you don't want to go out. And it's a horrible cycle that I've been through too many times in my life, really. So I started on Isagenix and I am down 20 pounds. So whatever crap I gained and however crap I felt during COVID has been completely turned around. Like, and I never did Isagenix before. I never did a shake program. I've done everything else in my life except for that. And so my kids now, because we all have a weight problem, they're all home. They're not exercising like they should. They're not moving about in school. They're not doing all the sports because they're not, they stopped for a little bit. So they're doing the shakes with me in the mornings. They're much, because I'm leading that charge for my family. They are becoming much more aware of what they're eating and how that impacts their energy. And it's been a godsend for me. And I didn't set out to try to get other people on this bandwagon, but the way that I feel and what it's done for me, I know other people are suffering during this time. Like, I know how COVID is. And I don't want anybody else to feel like I did. You don't have to feel that way. And so my mission is now like how I feel. I want other people that I care, right? Friends and family, strangers, I don't care. If you are feeling bad and you are not healthy and you have, a million cravings and you have low energy and you can't sleep at night, all these things are exacerbated this year for a million reasons. Right. This really helped me get in the right mental frame and the right body frame. I still got weight to lose. I'm never going to be skinny. I'm Greek and I like to eat. Right? Like, it's like the plight of my life. But I do feel that
food is love.
Food is love. And I cook all day for 4 boys and a husband. I'm constantly cooking and buying food and doing stuff, constantly food. And so to me, it's just been a real game changer for my health and my mental well-being. And again, like, I don't want people to continue to feel bad. You don't have to. And it changes like this.
Are you a provider of this? Is like,
yeah. So I didn't set out to be, because I told you, I have a big full-time job, right, and I have my books.
Which hour in the day did you find time to?
Yes.
I feel so lazy next to you.
It's crazy. I have my job. I have my books. I have my kids. I did not set out to do this. But when I was posting like, oh my God, I dropped 10 pounds. Look at me. My jeans fit me. Literally a jeans post. Because I was excited. And I'm sorry, I don't get to see people. Right. And I'm in my house with my kids. So I'm like, I'm going to post the damn picture of me in my jeans. And my mom and her cousins, they're like, we want to fit into our jeans too. We got so fat over this COVID. I was like, all right, let's do this together. So I started a little Facebook group just for 4 or 5 of us at the time. And I talk them through the program and we do it together and I text them and I see how they're doing. And then friends were like, hey, you look like you lost some weight. I'm like, yeah, the weight is the icing on the cake. The good thing is mentally I'm well. And that then brings no cravings. That then brings a health shift. And so now I have, I think 8 or 9 of us going. And really, I don't sell the product.
Right.
I help people feel better, and they reach out to me. I put them in my group. It's a huge support system. I go and I do a quick video and just like, hey guys, how you doing today? And just because we need the connection. It's not just about what you put in your mouth.
Right.
It's about the connection with people and your connection with community and your connection with food. And those things are lacking right now, you know, and Christmas, holidays are here. How many times have you looked back at your pictures and you're like, oh, I look like that? Every year for me.
Again, there's nothing, you know, this whole thing is bad, but the one thing is I'm not around, because I call holiday season cookie and cake season.
It is.
I'm sorry, cookie and chocolate season, because every time you turn around, someone's offering you cookies and chocolate. So the only, like, again, nothing good, but if I had to say, is I'm not out there. I'm not at a party. I'm not at or working at a holiday party where they're like, oh, Ellen, you were great, you know, sit and eat with us, you know, that kind of thing. I'm doing a lot of virtual stuff. So, but I agree with you that it's, so I try to, I've been down the nutrition role as forever, and I got into homeopathic and just sort of that mindset a very, very long time ago. So I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and I do have a severe sweet addiction. And again, food, and I have a big I'm small, but I have a big appetite, and I'm a volume eater. That's why I love salad, because I can eat a big bowl.
Right.
I'm not one of these like, oh, just have like a tablespoon of chia seeds. It's like, kiss my ass. My big ass, by the way.
Right.
Like,
or like, you have a little pack of individual packs of chips. You're like, are you nuts? I need like 5 of those.
5 almonds, and then I'm a good, and then have some lemon water.
I understand.
Anyway, so I get it, and one of the I kind of use this. I'm using this chiropractor that I met last year, and so his is about acid-based food and alkaline foods and all that. You know, again, at the end of the day, it really is about eating good foods. And good food is not potato chips. As a matter of fact, potato chips is not a food. A lot of the food that we think is food is engineered. So all of the snacks, all of that stuff, it's all engineered. Greens are a very big thing. So as a matter of fact, I'm sorry, I was drinking
I see you know, I had mine this morning. I know
my shake, because I had just worked out before and showered. So I'm very into greens, ginger, turmeric, like a lot of the things. So I would say, 80% of the time I'm good, pretty good in terms of that. But when I fall off the wagon, and by the way, some of it is absolute, like it's something, either I'm tired, when my adrenal glands are like tired, like I'm a 7 to 8 hour sleeper. I have to be, but if not, like yesterday, I crave more. People don't realize that exhaustion, because you're going on automatic and you don't realize it. And then sometimes, and you have to maybe nourish your body a little bit more that day, every day is not the same. Every day eating wise is not the same. And but working out is a big thing. I'm very happy that I got into that a long time ago. And I like to sweat, and I like to jump, and I like to move, and I'm like a cardio junkie. So that part, definitely. But anyway, I completely agree with you. And for us and our culture, I mean, because one party, it's spanakopita, pasticcio, this, that.
I made a whole tray of spanakopita yesterday for my boys.
Speaking of, I wanted to tell you. So I don't cook. I do make spanakopita, and I actually did a video on YouTube because it was for Basca. If you get a chance,
I'll watch it.
Just take a look at it. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but you'll see how a failed Greek woman makes spanakopita. That was my point. But anyway, I think that's great. I'm glad we did this. I mean, I got to know you better. You're interesting. I'm all about women empowerment. I'm all about supporting women. And again, I wanted to thank you so much for being so gracious and helping me. And you clearly in this conversation, I mean, this is your MO. This is what you do. And whether it's through education, family, friends, nutrition, help, I mean, you've got a very big heart, Anna, and you're very special. And it was your name day a couple of days ago. Happy name Bene, Kronia Pola. Tell us where we can find your book and get your book. And then you will, when things open up, you are available to go for book signings and all this. Like you come to the churches, you read to the kids. I wasn't there, but you got rave reviews. Everybody loved you. So let us know. Tell us about your new book, The Lucky Day.
The Lucky Day. So you can find all of the books that I published on a-to-z-publishing.com. It's a-to-z publishing.com. And that is just my publishing company with the books that I've recently written about Greek and Greek traditions. More to come. I think when I step away from my corporate role, I'll probably do book publishing full time, and I'll bring in other writers who do focus on cultural traditions, not just Greek. In our multicultural society, it's really important, and I do believe that to share your culture and your traditions, to learn about others, it makes you a better human. It makes you more connected to the world. So that is my goal. We'll see where we are 10 years from now, but that's the goal.
Another goal. Well, I think honestly, if you can find time, I'd like to see you run for office someplace, because we need somebody with a good heart like you for a change.
Nope. No, that's not for me. My kids actually said to me, Mom, you should go run for mayor of the town that we live in. I was like, no, thanks. I'm just going to stay in my little bubble. We're good.
Well, listen, I'm not writing you off just yet. Maybe when you're not cooking for everybody,
Oh, that's funny.
Mad respect. So you are, you can Google your name, Anna Prokos, Prokos. K-O-S.
P-R-O-K-O-S.
Oh, sorry. P-R-O.
Just pro.
It's right in front of me. You're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
I am. So on Facebook, and I have the Lucky Book series, a group on there. You can just find me, Anna Prokos, on Facebook. I'll friend you. You get to see all of my crazy family and all the books that I'm doing. And the health journey thing too. I really do believe we have to help each other. As a Greek community, we have to help each other. We see other ethnicities that are bound together, tied together, and they help raise each other. And with Greeks, it takes a little bit more time. You're sort of like, you want to help, but you don't want to help. Well, I want to help. And that is really, really why I'm here. And when I link arms with people like you, like, you wanted the book stuff and you're doing your comedy. When we all link arms as a community, we can be really strong in not just today and the things that we do tomorrow. So that is my goal. That is my mission. Besides everything else, that is why I was put on this earth. So that's what I'll continue to do. So just go to a-to-z-publishing.com. I also do Zoom. So I do read my book. So for New Year's, I'm going to have a reading online on Facebook. I'll send you the details too. So
good.
So kids can hear the books to them. I used to charge for Zooms. I'm not charging for them anymore because schools are not getting the funding they need to get books and authors and to their students from all this. So I really think it's important. We want to educate and keep our kids focused and engaged. So I'll do all Zooms for free. Doing fundraisers for churches, Sunday schools, Greek schools. They buy the book in bulk. So it's 30 to 35 copies per book in bulk, and they get a 20% discount. So then they can sell it at full price and bring money in for their groups. And I'll do a Zoom for, that too. I had a Zoom with a Greek school, St. Catherine's, I think it was, in California over Easter. It was great. The Sunday school, the Greek school came on, the kids, I read to them. And I'm, that's what I do. So whatever people need or however they want to connect with the books and the traditions, and I'm here. So
that's great. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this and taking the time.
Absolutely.
Again, the Lucky series, the Lucky Cake, the Lucky Egg, the new one, the Lucky Day, and Anna Prokos, Prokos, A-to-Z Publishing. Check her out. She's amazing. And my name is Ellen Karis. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Greek Chick Comic. Ellen Karis, Facebook, Greek Goddess of Comedy. Go to my website, ellenkaris.com, for this podcast and all of the other ones. We appreciate all of our guests. We are grateful, more than we can express. Until next time, thank you, everybody. Bye.